Welcome, Professor.
Hello YouTubers! Today I'm going to be going over X2 X-Men United, which was released in 2003. And man, this movie was big. It was also the first really highly successful Marvel sequel. X-Men broke new ground into the superhero genre. You had other attempts in the past. You had other milestones with Superman the movie, Batman 1989. But after the real kind of like weird dry spell of the 90s, we weren't really sure what superhero films were capable of. They weren't taken seriously enough. It wasn't until Blade, the release of Men in Black, and then X-Men and Spider-Man that we got a more serious approach to the material of the comic books they were adapting. And James Cameron actually wanted to make an X-Men movie in the early 90s. They wanted him to do Spider-Man, but with like the T-1000 type of technology, he wanted to do X-Men. He also had other people like Bob Hoskins in mind from fans to play Wolverine. Of course, none of that happened. Bryan Singer directed the highly successful X-Men in 2000. And of course, any successful film must have a follow-up, and X2 X-Men United takes place right after the first X-Men. This is how you do a sequel. This goes along with Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Empire Strikes Back, and Godfather Part 2, and even Terminator 2 Judgment Day. X-Men 2, X-Men United builds on what the first one set up, but it also exceeds every expectation, goes into places we're not expecting, and also really elevates the material and this world, these characters and story much further in this installment. The first one felt like a test drive. This one feels like them fully going into the X-Men universe. It has that brilliant opening with the White House attack. The president has been attacked by a mutant. There's about to be a mutant peace treaty. Somebody attacks them. You find out Nightcrawler has been mind-controlled. You find out that it's William Stryker, played by Brian Cox. Oh my gosh, he is such a villain in this movie, but he's also Wolverine's creator. And they have to go after him. Meanwhile, he has an order from the president to go search and seizure on the X-Men Mutant Academy. So Charles Xavier's school is basically attacked, and this took a lot of influence from God Loves, Man Kills from Chris Claremont. A lot of it was based on it. There's certain scenes that are exactly from that source material. I love it. Everybody is separated in this. Jean Grey and Storm are by themselves with Nightcrawler. Cyclops and Professor Xavier visit Magneto to see who the attacker is. They're out of commission. Charles Xavier is captured. They need his power to use another version of Cerebro to pretty much kill all the mutants. So everybody's separated in this, and that's wonderful because you get pairings that you normally wouldn't have been paired with. Of course, Rogue and Logan have good chemistry with each other. They know each other from the first movie, but along the ride is Pyro and Bobby, aka Iceman. So that's interesting. They steal Cyclops' car with Bye 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 by NSYNC. I just love that moment. And we also get to know more about Wolverine's past with William Stryker. Of course, they had an X-Men cartoon called X-Men Evolution that kind of explored this element before X2 X-Men United came out. But I remember how big this was. I even had like the Dr. Pepper cans that had all the different characters. X-Men Mutant Academy, the video game, a fighting video game, 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, those games were awesome. X2 X-Men United is just done in grand fashion. You have every one of the cast members returning from X-Men. And Jean Grey's also dealing with like elevated powers that hint towards the future of the Phoenix. I really love that. And Hugh Jackman just got ripped for this. He's back with a vengeance as Wolverine. He's already been in some movies, but coming back here, you could tell he has a lot more dedication and devotion to the role, more than he did the first time around. And he had a lot of dedication the first time around. But this one, he really begins to embody the Wolverine we know and love for basically 2 decades. I also love Rebecca Romijn in this, and also Magneto, Ian McKellen, when he breaks out of that prison. Is probably one of my favorite X-Men scenes. And she's like, never trust a beautiful woman, especially one as interested in you. And I love how they have to team up. Everybody is on the same side here. They have to be united, but everyone also has their own ulterior motives, and that's one thing that makes it refreshing and new. That final climax scene at Alkali Lake is just insane, and really heartbreaking with the ending. This was a very dark ending, despite having some great action scenes and everything. And I just love that tease of the Phoenix. It's just sad that we never really got a full-blown X-Men 3 by Bryan Singer. Instead, we got The Last Stand. So, yeah, I kind of wish we got something more faithful to the Dark Phoenix saga. Especially if they're going to use Sebastian Shaw. That would have been kind of cool. But yeah, this takes a lot of influence from the comics. And they also get to show more of their abilities. The budget's higher. Storm, that part with the tornadoes is just amazing. We get to know more about Bobby's family, and they did it almost in a way of like him coming out. Like some people do coming out as gay. They do that with a mutant ability, and that was something very interesting that also made it feel very real. You get a lot of humor there with Wolverine pretending to be their professor, and then some insane action with the police standoff. Nightcrawler, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler. Yes, Mr. Invincible from GoldenEye and Mr. Flute from Spy Kids. He plays a great Nightcrawler. They had to put a lot of makeup. His makeup's similar to Ron Perlman in Hellboy as far as the designs. I also like Pyro and Magneto's relationship. He's not really sure if he's on the right side. He doesn't see good or bad. He just sees mutant kind. And Magneto kind of conveys that to him. But everybody really does a good job. Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler has a fluent German accent. Magneto, Ian McKellen worked with screenwriters for his character. You could definitely tell there's a lot more for Magneto to do. Rebecca Romijn's Mystique looks fantastic. I like it when she seduces the guard. Her makeup took 5 hours instead of the usual 7 hours, so that was pretty crazy that they did practical makeup. Above all, there's a lot of CG effects in this, but there's a lot of practical effects as well that blends it and again continues to ground it in reality. And we also get a continuation of the prejudice and adversity the mutants must face. And that's one thing I love about the first two X-Men movies, is that that element of the story, that element of the universe is very, very much present. But this movie is awesome. And oh yeah, did I forget to mention John Ottman's score? John Ottman with a dun 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 dun. That score is amazing. Besides the X-Men 90s theme from Fox Kids, that is the most iconic X-Men score. I like the score in the first movie, but this one really upped the ante just a little bit. And I'm glad they reused it in Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. But yeah, this had just the right amount of action. It wasn't to the point where they're like destroying a whole bunch of buildings and stuff. There's still a strong central story here. The stakes were high. And ultimately, I love how Wolverine comes in contact with his creator. And did I forget Kelly Hu as Lady Deathstrike? That fight between her and Wolverine was awesome. I love that, where he has the claws and then she just gets her fingers out. And he's just like, oh shit. That's when I knew he was in trouble, but that was such an intense fight that did not take back any punches whatsoever. It pushed it for PG-13, that's all I have to say. That was pretty brutal. And I liked that. Everything still felt like it was real, still felt that it was brutal. It just felt like it meant something, it had impact. The only con I would have against this film, and it's not really a con, is that Cyclops doesn't really get much to do. But there's so many characters to balance that I'm actually surprised that you can make a movie this good with this many characters. It knows what to do with each character, it balances them out, and they also get their own moments to shine, each and every one of them. But the whole mind control thing was interesting, and then William Stryker's son, that was just tragic. I mean, that really shows you what type of character we're dealing with. And I also like it because, you know, you had Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants in the first one. This one, you have a human villain who's so tied to not only Professor Xavier with the Skull, but also Wolverine being his creator. He's tied to the X-Men. So that's very interesting to see a human villain this time around. And also have like Magneto and his beliefs right smack in the middle of that. I just love that moment where he just uses Cerebro and she's like, sorry, but it's about time we play by their rules, Charles. I just love that. And him rearranging the Cerebro machine is just, damn, that's pretty cool, Magneto. Magneto can have his pretty damn cool moments. But X2 X-Men United is one of the best Marvel sequels. This and Spider-Man 2 are a gold standard for any comic book movie sequel along with Dark Knight. I just love everything about this, and it just breaks my heart that we did not get a proper third film. So I'm going to give X2 X-Men United a 5 out of 5 and an A+. It is the gold standard when it comes to X-Men movies. sequels. I love this. The only other movie I think, for me personally, besides the first that comes really close to this one is Logan and Days of Future Past. But X2 is like the last of like that original X-Men that we saw for quite a while. And to end on such a tragic note is just insane. And that cliffhanger ending of the Phoenix Bird. But I love everything about it. All the mutants that are introduced. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Colossus and Kitty Pryde make an appearance. I don't know, she's not Ellen Page in this movie, but somebody goes through a wall. But the cast is fantastic. The direction is very well done. The story is a nice continuation from the first one, seamlessly. And the only difference is at the beginning, Wolverine's hair looks a bit odd. That's because Hugh Jackman was filming Van Helsing at the time, and he had to put a wig to make his hair look like the Wolverine hair. So they put a wig. That's why his forehead looks a bit funny when he's at Acolyte Lake at the beginning. But I love that with him taking his bike. He comes back, tells Cyclops, here's your bike back. She needs to be filled up. He throws him the keys, and then Cyclops throws him the keys back saying, then fill her up then. I just love that. Their type of banter between one another continues. Everybody does a phenomenal job, and I love this movie. 5 out of 5 and an A+. If you haven't seen X2 X-Men United, where have you been? But seriously, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check out X-Men and X2 X-Men United. Definitely. If you're going to check out any X-Men films, check out those. I love this movie. If you have checked out X2 X-Men United, let me know your thoughts about the film in the comments below. What are your memories of it when it first came out? This movie was big. I really love this movie. This movie I saw at least numerous times. I remember the trailer on the freaking Daredevil movie that came out with Ben Affleck. Yeah, this movie was big. Just let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe for more videos.